So lots and lots of hardcore clearing last night. I heard many of you didn't get a huge amount of sleep. Welcome to the club. And that's kind of what I want to talk about today, because obviously that's paid off to some degree. A lot of you feel lighter than you normally do, and that you often do as you come in for the afternoon session. And that's something I've observed through this retreat, particularly. I don't know why it really stuck out in this retreat, although I'm sure it happens pretty much in all of them. It's this lighter, heavier, lighter, heavier, lighter, heavier, where not all of you all the time, but most of you most of the time will go through that seesaw of, you go through a process, you have an aha moment, you do some clearing with Linda, myself, or Michael, and then your energy is much lighter, you've released some stuff, and you're more expanded, and then within 2 hours, sometimes less, sometimes a bit more, your energy starts to get really heavy again. And then you just start to really feel heavy and slow and sluggish. And that's more stuff coming up, but that's really you not keeping up with the stuff that's coming up to clear. Because if you keep up with the flow of what's coming up to clear, you shouldn't feel heavy. You should maintain your vibration more or less on the same level. And when you start to feel swamped by stuff, and yes, sometimes a lot of stuff triggers very quickly. That's where you have to pedal extra hard and extra fast to process it all and to get on top of it. If you have a lot more fear coming up, you need to pump a lot more love into your process and a lot more will into your process. It comes back to the 3 aspects we were talking about yesterday: right use of will, right use of love, right use of intelligence. And whenever you face a lot of resistance, you have to go up to match that resistance within yourself. And obviously you guys have not been doing that consistently through the retreats, which is likely to mean you don't do consistently that thing during your everyday life. So either you're not running the process all the time, or you're not running the process effectively. And the fact that yesterday you knuckled down and cleared a lot more and really focused a lot more on running that clearing for hours and hours and hours, you guys feel lighter. You know, there's stuff there, of course. You know, it's not like you're 100% made of light. But you feel lighter than I've seen most of you be for on and off for this whole last 5 or 6 days, however long we've been here. So you need to raise the bar. You need to raise the bar, you're not keeping up, and that's what's causing you to start to really feel overwhelmed. You know, when you go into this crisis and, it's too much, I can't deal with it, it's too much feeling, or you start to go in on these cycles of unconsciousness and just act out of your patterns before, usually with the help of your mentor, you start pulling yourself out of it and put a bit of extra work to overcome whatever trigger or issue you've been struggling with. Or do the whole spacing out and not be very present, so the stuff keeps piling up in the full body system, but you're off on the mental level or God knows where, and you're not really here to deal with the triggers. So was anyone here aware that they had, you know, that they had these moments where they weren't keeping up and they were starting to get heavier in their energy? Yeah, because you need to be aware of it. If you're not aware of it, you need to put more intention on paying attention to how your energy is feeling in every moment. And that's the first step, really. You need to notice when your vibration is starting to drop. And you know that feeling that you have after you've done a process or a meditation, or you've done the I am, all of that, you have that feeling of the heart's more open, you feel more expanded, you feel lighter, maybe you feel fired up. There's a lot more energy going on, a lot more light, and, you know, not to say that there's not still stuff coming up, feelings stirring up, but you feel bigger, you feel more open, you feel clearer, yeah? Well, after you have that experience at the end of the process of meditation, you need to try to maintain that as much as possible. And yes, sometimes, especially on retreats like this, when we do processes, it's boosted with some extra energy which you may not be able to completely hold 100% yourself, but you could hold so much more than what you allow yourself to hold. And in order to do that, you have to clear like a bastard. And obviously, that's not been happening consistently. Maybe in moments when you're really aware there's a crisis or a big challenge. So awareness is the first step. Notice, be aware of how you're feeling, how connected, how much in oneness, how aligned and centered, how light, how open, how in my center, how clear do I feel. When stuff starts to stir up, you shouldn't drop out of that in order to go feel your stuff. And that's a mistake that we make sometimes, because we say, oh, you know, you have to go into your feelings. Yes, you do. But not get out of your clarity and your center and alignment in order to go into the feelings. And I was sharing that, I think it was on the first or second day, that probably on the second, oh anyway, some time ago, retreats, that you need to stay in that strong center and alignment, that clarity, that core, and then from there you expand out and invite those feelings into that space that you're holding for them. And yes, you feel them and they move through you, but they don't take over all of you. And if you're doing that, that means you allowed yourself to contract, you allowed your vibration to drop. And usually when you start contracting or you get really caught up in the mind chatter, all of that, you're contracting. You're not in that expansion connection with the oneness of spirit. You're starting to focus on that small world, small universe. And then you get more caught up in whatever's going on in that, and before you know it, your vibration started to drop. It's just that constant monitoring, constant coming back, running the I am, aligned, center, breathe, keep breathing out with gratitude and acceptance, all the things that you're feeling and allowing yourself to feel. And it does feel, it's moving through you, but it's more like a stream moving through you. It's more like something that you're holding a space for, and yes, it will do things in your heart or in your tummy or in your energy overall, but if you're keeping on top of it, it's not going to start spreading everywhere and entombing your light. And so when you are aware and you're monitoring yourself and you're paying attention and you start to notice that happening, put more energy into the clearing, boost it up, because it means that more stuff is coming up than you're clearing. Simple physics. And we've been talking quite a bit the last couple of days about that self-discipline, that really raising the bar, that not indulging things that you know are not supportive of your process, that you know are not about mastery, but you think you can get away with it. Oh, I know this is not, you know, and of course there's some reasonable balance in that. It's not like, oh, well, you know, I know that, you know, eating potato chips is not the best thing for me, so I'll never allow myself to have one potato chips ever in my whole life. How much does it really matter in the greater scheme of things, and how much does it actually lower your vibration? Probably not very much. But in terms of your choices, your behavior, the way that you act, the way you use your energy, the way you engage with the mind, the way you engage with the emotions, all of that, there's lots of things that, you know, oh geez, you know, I know that, I notice my mind's busy, but well, I'm having a crappy day, so bugger this, I'll just let it chat and just have a little rant with myself. And you can't let it drop like this. It doesn't matter if you're having a good day, a bad day, if your dog's died or whatever. If you're in mastery, you cannot drop the bar below the level that you know is expected of someone on the path of initiation, someone who's committed to love. And that's, you know, imagine if the beings that run this planet, that actually have responsibility for this planet, are indulged something less than the standard that is required of them to conduct their job within the planetary sphere, drop below that minimum threshold because they're having a bad day, or because, you know, a new war exploded in the world or whatever, so they get discouraged, so they start indulging in fear, and that contaminates the whole planet. And, you know, all of you don't realize how much influence your energy has on your sphere. You know, all of you have worked on yourself for some number of years and have a sphere, your energy, your aura encapsulates, you know, not necessarily all the planet, but for some of you it's quite a large chunk of space, and that means that your energy has an impact on everything that your energy encompasses. And you know, even for someone who's not really done a lot of work on themselves and expanding their sphere in a major way, they still are going to encapsulate most of the people around them. You are responsible for the effects of that. So it's like, oh, I'm having a bad day, I'm just going to bugger this, it's too hard today, so I'm just going to indulge my ego and I'll deal with it tomorrow. I'll clean up the mess tomorrow, but for today, life's too hard today, so I'm just going to give in. And then you just chuck all this stuff around. Not only you can undo days, weeks, months of good work in no time at all. And the more you grow, the more that's the case. But you also allow your whole sphere to cop some of that energy that you're throwing about. And that energy will come back to you to clear. And these are the times where you feel stuff coming back at you, and sometimes you think it's other people attacking you, projecting at you, and most of the time it's your own crap coming back at you that you've projected out into your sphere for you to clear and process. So of course you need to keep your boundaries in place. You need to accept only vibrations of unconditional love and above, unless it's your stuff. And you know, I've had cases of students where that was happening and they were convinced that they were being attacked by entities, and I was trying to tell them, you know, and I checked, there was no entities there, you know, we had Nerida, Michael, everyone felt it into it, and there was nothing there, it was just their own crap coming back at them, but they were so refusing to take responsibility that they were convinced that some, you know, strange beings were attacking them, and it wasn't. But that happened often, you know, oh, these people are attacking me and blah, 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 but it's really all just your stuff. No one else is attacking you. They may be mirroring back your stuff and not taking it on, or it's just one of those times where your own stuff is coming back at you. So in those moments, boost up the process. Don't start to go into it's not fair, or it's all too hard, or I'm overwhelmed. If you're overwhelmed, it's because you're playing small. The universe never gives you more than you're able to handle. So if you're feeling really overwhelmed with how much stuff comes up to clear, it's because you're not expanding enough and you're not putting enough energy and will behind your process. And you know, there's been moments in my process where it's been very intense, and there's been moments where I couldn't find light or love anywhere. And you know, even the last few months I had an experience where I woke up in the middle of the night with so much fear around me. Some of it was my own stuff coming back at me, some of it was other things, and I am really in that moment, I could have easily just let myself be buried under and gone completely unconscious, like this, easily. And it was so huge, like I couldn't see anything else but all that fear and that darkness. And in that moment, I was like, no, I'm choosing love. I'm choosing love. And that was my lifesaver. And all the foundational teachings that we hammer in right from the beginning when we start, and we keep revisiting every year. These are the things that really saved me in that moment. Align, center, breathe. Practice what I was sharing the other day. Go right deep into your heart, right deep into your core, because even if you can't see love or find light anywhere, deep within there's always going to be that connection with the love, always. And you focus on that, and you don't let yourself get distracted by anything else. And you just keep focusing on that, growing it, giving it energy, fanning it. I choose love, I choose love, I choose love. And you start to expand it and be in that and choose that, keep reinforcing it until you start to be able to hold an aligned, centered space in love, feel stronger in that, and really start to clear everything. Switch on, put a lot of energy, a lot of power behind it, all the way up to source, all the way down to the source core of the planet. Switch on, fire up, and really run the process. And you know, it's not always that intense, but sometimes it will get that intense. And it's one of those moments where, do you choose to be a coward? Or do you choose to really demonstrate that love is what you're committed to? Doesn't matter how hard it is, you are never presented with anything you can't handle. And that's something I did remember at that moment. I was like, oh my God, I can't do this. And I was like, hold on. No. If it's happening, I can do it. Yeah. And it happens sometimes where we see students, when they start having a lot of stuff come up, they freak out. It's so scary, it's so much, and it hurts so much. And well, what do? You hit the tools. Align, center, breathe, run the process. Run the process like a bastard. Just do it over and over and over again until everything's cleared. And if it means that you don't sleep that night, then don't sleep that night. Because if you go to sleep and all that stuff is running and triggering and swelling up, and I'm too tired, I'm just going to go to sleep, I'll continue tomorrow. By the time you wake up the next morning, it's going to be up to here, and it might be too late. That's how seriously you need to take the process if you really want to make progress, if you really want to get the gains and achieve mastery. And why wouldn't you? That's why you're here, and what a wonderful goal to have. And when something's not working, like you're processing really hard, but for some reason it's not shifting, or you're not getting on top of it, even though you're really boosting your alignment, your center, you're bringing more love in, more light in, you're really kind of disciplining yourself and putting a lot of power behind all that love and behind holding space for yourself, and you can't shift it. Well, look at which steps of the process you're not actually embracing correctly. Maybe you're not really allowing the feelings to be felt. You're trying to process it without really feeling it. And that's typical. It's like, can I process it from over there without having to feel it? It doesn't work. You can't be afraid of your feelings. Maybe you can't release the judgment. If you're still judging your feelings or any of the issues that have to do with those feelings, let's say you have issues around your brother that really triggered you. It's like, it's okay for me to feel as I feel. I don't have judgments about my feeling, but I have judgments about my brother because he's wrong. Well, if you have judgments with anything relating to the feelings, you can't release the feelings because you're still caught up in that right and wrong, good and bad thing. So maybe you're not releasing the judgment, or maybe you're not really willing to let go of the feelings. Maybe if you're having a pity party, you don't really want to let go of all that sadness and grief and poor me stuff because that makes you feel special, or that's a way that you kind of give yourself an easier time where you just get off your case by indulging in a pity party. And that's one of the ways that the ego really likes to get time off the process. And so maybe the feelings that you have to let go in order to clear that particular trigger would mean never have a pity party again, and maybe you're not quite ready to let that go. So whatever's not working, the process works. So if it's not working, there's something you're not doing right. So this is where you go, okay, am I meeting the level of resistance, the level of fear that's coming up to clear? Am I meeting that, matching that? Or I'm just trying to process it from down here when the amount of fear coming at me is this big? If not, more will, more love, more intelligence. Boost it up, expand, hold a space. I can do this. If it's not working, look at which steps of the process you're not embracing. Look at the 3 principles we talked about yesterday. Where am I not practicing this? All the tools that we have. If it's not working, you're dropping the ball in some area or another. And if you can't work out what it is, talk to your mentor. If you're not feeling the love, you're not running the process correctly. You can feel an enormous amount of fear and grief and anger and all sorts of those generally called more negative feelings, and still feel love, an enormous amount of love. You don't have to drop love in order to feel other things. You stay in the love and you hold space from that love for all the other feelings. It's like what Michael was sharing on that first day. You just, when you have a wound, if you like judge it or like, oh, it hurts, it just makes it worse. Where if you just go towards that wound and surround it in love and nurturing and healing energy, it's still going to hurt, but it's all going to be in perspective and it's all going to be okay, and you're actually helping the healing. We do the same thing with our feelings. So the fact that you have a lot of stuff coming up, a lot of stuff triggering, is no reason to drop out of love. And when you do that, that means you're identifying with your issues. If when the stuff coming up, you can't feel the love, you can't feel that sense of center and alignment and being spirit identified and all this, you have got out of alignment and center, and you have got triggered. Love and fear are not unable to exist within you, to coexist within you. They can coexist. But what we're doing is just bringing more love in and lessening the amount of fear that we have in our system until it's hardly anything, until it's like 0.00% or less. And the more you clear, the less and less fear you'll have in your system. In the same way, when you're triggered, you're feeling a lot of pain, doesn't mean that you can't receive love. But we shut down, we do that slug contracting against the place where you poked it thing, because love tends to highlight where the fear is, where the unresolved stuff is. And we do that, it's an automatic reaction of the creature. Because the creature doesn't like pain. Remember, it just wants the feel-good stuff. Experience pleasure, feel okay. It's like, relief. So that closing off to love when you're going through stuff is an automatic animal reaction, trying to avoid pain, trying to avoid suffering. And we know that we have to come to a point where we embrace our suffering, not by creating unnecessary suffering, but we embrace the suffering because it's part of that healing. We have all these wounds everywhere. They're like cuts and bruises and scrapes and scratches. They're there. So we're just going to keep like avoiding them and scraping at them and picking them, or we're going to actually go and take care of those wounds, touch them, heal them, love them. You know, the animal just wants to withdraw from wherever it hurts. You know, there's that whole thing, if you hurt your leg, you'll tend to want to withdraw your energy to not really go there. And we experience that in bodywork and massage, when in these bodywork sessions that Marguerite does, where she's working on somewhere quite sore, and, you know, first thing we do is withdraw energy from there because, it hurts, rather than moving towards the energy and not resisting. And breathing into it, relaxing, and in the relaxing and accepting of the experience of that physical pain, we start to really release and heal, and before you know it, the pain's gone. That's the same thing on the physical level. It's only pain. We've all experienced it many, many times. It hasn't killed us, has it? So monitor your vibration, monitor your state of consciousness. How are you feeling? How expanded? How aligned? How centered? How at one? Is that the peak of what you're able to hold, or are you allowing yourself to drop the bar? You cannot drop the bar, ever, especially the more senior students in the room. But everyone. And actually really impresses upstairs when you raise the bar higher than what is expected for your level of evolution. when you actually live by standards that are higher than what's the minimum standard expected for where you're at in the initiation process. Now that's really impressive. So let's just really get that sense of how anchored are we in the core of the earth. How connected are we to spirit? How connected are we in here, in our core? How much love are we radiating from here? How expanded are we allowing our hearts to be? Or we're allowing ourselves to just curl up on ourselves because we don't feel so good. Or you don't feel so good, don't curl up on yourself. Just be ready for battle. Be ready to embrace it. Be ready to be a good leader for the rest of your body. Because your bodies are going to want to just curl up on themselves. It's that whole, I'm having a bad day, I'm just going to do this. But you still need to process the energy. You still need to feel. You still need to clear. So the only way for the bad feelings to go away is for you to just embrace them and accept them and make peace with them first. And through the day, it's staying at that level. And whatever you notice yourself start to get heavy or close up or constrict or contract, fire up a bit more. Be more loving. Fill yourself up with a bit more love. Call in the violet flame. Run the process. Keep breathing. Hold a stronger space. Hold a wider space, a bigger space if you need to. Be more powerful in the clearing. Be more powerfully loving in the face of all this fear that's coming up, of all the contraction or the wanting to contract and hide, the wanting to take off and not be present. Bring yourself back in. I'm staying with this. I'm not running away. It's okay. It's nothing to be scared of. It's just fear. It's just suffering. It's just energy. It's just another experience. Don't let yourself be defeated so easily. That's the coward's way. You're not cowards, not at heart. But sometimes you choose to act like cowards. It's just fear. Big deal. I'm never a victim. I am always given exactly what I can handle and exactly what I deserve. This is how the universe works. Pump more energy into it. From your connection up to source, down to the source core of the planet and your own source center. A lot of source energy can come in, a lot of love and a lot of light can come in. And when you also flood your entire matrix with the violet flame, magic starts to happen. And you really put some will behind it. You can start to fire up, power it up. And that really boosts your clearing. Align, center. Expand, be strong, hold a strong space. I am. Be in that I am. Spirit identification. Pump in the source energy. Pump in the love. Fill yourself up with it like we did the other day when we experienced the different levels of identification. Fill all of your full body system with that source energy, with that love, and really bring in the violet flame to meld and blend with all that. Put some horsepower behind that from the core, from the center. That's not a mind thing. The will's got nothing to do with the mind. Will, divine will, comes from the core. That powerful sun in your core. That's where the power comes from. feel, acknowledge, be grateful, hold that gratitude in all moments at the same time. Release any and all judgments, just let it all be as it is. Let go. Re-choose, bring more love in, more source in, more spirit. Keep releasing, keep expanding, keep bringing more love in. It's never enough love. Be a spiritual warrior, not a spiritual pansy. That's not the goal. This is the spiritual warrior's path. So bring a bit of that rah-rah behind the love. You can't do power for its own sake. The power has to be behind the love. It's got to set the love on fire. And your heart's got to beam like a sun. And you got to feel the energy beaming from the core of the earth as well, from your grounding cord. And that strong connection up to the highest, clearest, most loving source. And let go of any constrictions, limitations, contractions, heaviness that gets in the way of that. Just throw it into the fire, accept it, release any judgment, be grateful, feel it, release it. Let it move through, let it be refined. I am. I am all that I am. Breathe, release, feel, invite all the unresolved heaviness, frozen energy, bring it into the fire. Allow the love to dissolve it, to burn it, to transmute, transform. Release. Keep moving through. Keep powering up. Keep bringing the love in, the light in, the violet flame, the source energy beam. Vibrate, pulse. I am.